Hello, it's been too long, friends. Today, I want to read an article that I wrote on LinkedIn today, actually, about being artistic, linguistic, and autistic, which are three of my intersectionalities as far as my personality and abilities that I have and conditions I struggle with. So I'm going to go to my LinkedIn and read this to you aloud. I just want to make sure that this will continue to record even if I'm out of the window, and it looks like it will. Okay, so here we go. The artistic, linguistic, autistic. This article was written and completed December 27th, 2022. I am an autistic artist. I am also a poet and I favor wordplay. I like rhyme and alliteration, homophones, synonyms, and homonyms. That being said, I am also bilingual and a fluent Spanish teacher. Because I have not been in my immersive bilingual environment for several years, I vacillate between semi-fluency and advanced level, but out of practice. However, Spanish comes back to me easily, and I'm able to get back up to the same speed quickly once I'm in the environment of Spanish speakers. Like muscle memory for those who exercise. I also have been told by numerous Spanish speakers that I have excellent pronunciation and that I sound so good when I speak that I could and have been mistaken as a native Spanish speaker. I know this because when I speak Spanish, numerous Spanish speaking Latinos, Latinas, Latine, and Latinx have asked me what my country of origin is. When I tell them I am from the United States and that I am Afroamericana, which means African American female in Spanish, the question that usually follows is, well, what country of origin are your parents? I will get asked if I have any Latino, Latinas, Latine, or Latinx heritage. And to their surprise, I do not. I do, however, have Creole heritage from Louisiana, which is a mix of French and Black people in a middle racial class referred to as Mula. I'm not saying the full word because that term for some people today is considered a racial slur. It refers to the mix of a donkey and a horse, which is a mule. The word mule in Spanish is mula. I'm saying it short, to which is pejorative, and it sounds like mixed people are animals and a beastly hybrid. The link below is a brief article explaining why that term is considered pejorative by some. It is difficult for my brain to organize thought properly in a compartmentalized, orderly, brief, coherent manner. I don't have a waffle brain that has sections for thoughts and explanations and concepts separately. I also do not have a ladder brain that can go up or down, listing thought after thought after thought in a continuum that can be followed in linear manner. I am what is coined as the term neuro-divergent. I do not think like others do in the manner that they do. People will, with typical brains, think in a typical way that the majority of brains operate in. That being said, even though I knew before I knew through the validation of medical diagnosis, I am indeed autistic. I like to say that I have spaghetti brain. Everything's everywhere, touching everything, and very hard to search for particular things. Um, let's see. Oh, I'm also linguistic and artistic. The poet in me loves the rhyme, which I'm pretty sure to the non-creative could be quite an irritating trio. I am the artistic, linguistic, autistic. Maybe I will title a future poem or a book and write about these experiences in detail. So now I want to talk about how autism affects my life. As I said, I knew before I knew and had my medical diagnosis. It was validating and relieving instead of disappointing and upsetting, even though some people refer to being autistic as having superpowers. I personally find that to be an ignorant and offensive statement to say. I would not admonish someone for thinking or saying such a thing because they do not understand how autism affects or limits people. I think it is usually said out of good intentions to encourage a person with disabilities that they should focus on their special abilities that other typical brain people do not have. All autistic people, however, do not excel in a particular field, nor do they have the same struggles or level of struggle as each other. There are three levels of autism, mine being level one, and different kinds of autism, such as, for example, Asperger's syndrome. Autism is still being studied as far as what causes it and how to cure it if there is a cure. However, there is also a debate as to whether autism is something that can be and should be cured, or if it is simply diversity among types of brains in the population. Whether autism is an error to be corrected or just a different kind of brain, either way, it doesn't matter much to me because unless a cure that can work on autistic adults is developed in my lifetime prior to the age of retirement, it would not really affect my life. The life I have left, as far as improving my functioning, I have had to learn to adjust and function by mirroring, studying, copying, and performing neurotypical normalcy. Because I'm so good at masking, many people struggle to believe that I am autistic. I'm extroverted, socially articulate, eloquent, and I'm able to express myself well and enjoy conversing with people on a deeper, complex level for long periods of time. I am also able to instruct complex topics such as grammatical comparisons and contrasts among various languages. I am very artistically talented and creatively diverse in my abilities to make visual art, poems, scripts, and stories. I also participate in the performing arts through dancing, singing, acting, photography, and filming, just to name a few. As far as my academic struggles, however, I really have a very difficult time understanding mathematics, science, history, and reading comprehension. I find that with cognitive output, I can express what I'm feeling and thinking better than I can understand input from someone or something else. The same goes with language comprehension. I excel at pronunciation in English, Spanish, and other language sounds and melody, even though I have not been exposed to them prior. I also excel at speaking fluently as if I were on the level of a native. However, when it comes to reading in another language or understanding what someone is saying, I find that to be a bit more difficult. In a way, my autism plays a part in my language abilities. Having autism, at least in the way it manifests in my struggles to communicate, means that I will struggle to properly communicate with others in a coherent, organized manner. And I will get frustrated because it generally makes sense to me, but not to most neurotypical people. Artists have the same issue. I learned through research on the internet that there are people who are not mentally able to visualize an apple, for example, with detailed, vivid color and texture, with the light, the shadow, and the pigment in their own mind. There are people who can visualize an apple in a very detailed manner, like me, and some people can visualize an apple in a simple sense, just an apple without shadow and deep pigment and the light bouncing off of it and color change. And some people can't visualize that at all. They understand the concept of an apple, but they don't see a visual apple in their mind space. This is called aphantasia. There's a link below for the aphantasia article. Artists and creatives are able to see the world in a different way. And autistic people have varied communication, social interaction, and thinking patterns. Linguists are exposed to various ways of cultural, verbal, physical, tonal, and grammatical expression. These three things, in my personal experience, are interconnected in how I interpret the world around me and how I connect with other human beings. Sometimes this is to my advantage, but most times it's to my disadvantage. I feel that I'm like a rainbow because I can understand and relate to many people because I've had such a multiple, rich, diverse cultural linguistic experience. But it's kind of difficult for people to relate to me if they're just one or two or even three colors because I'm experiencing multiple colors at once. And it's hard to explain or express something complex to something more simple and not as complex. So, I've developed deep relationships and friendships with international students of various races, ethnicities, cultural, and language backgrounds. I've also had the experience of altering, accommodating, and learning what specific needs English learners need for better, effective instruction. Believe it or not, most ESL teachers do not and are not required to have any prior knowledge of any other languages or linguistic structural differences and similarities among languages in general. I also think that for a non-artistic teacher, using mostly text and lecture style instruction, that for students who are illiterate or partially illiterate, which plenty are in their own native tongue, without visuals, it's very difficult to comprehend a class in full English immersion. So for that reason, with my skill set, with the academic subject I excel at the most, I want to help the ESL community as best I can, as well as the TESL community, the teachers who teach English as a second language, to better help and understand and accommodate their students' needs. So, in closing, my linguistic skills, my autistic disability, and my artistic diversity is a trio of of unique understanding and bridge building and communication. I hope that I can help people who don't understand to better understand one another. I want teachers to understand better how to help their autistic students. I want TESL teachers to better understand how to help their ESL students. And I want non-creatives to better understand that artistic people often see the world through a creative lens and may need visuals to properly understand lessons. And many excel in the arts, but struggle in analytical academic fields. Their talent, however, is no less valuable than that of a mathematician, historian, scientist, or English language arts professor. So I am grateful. I am humble sometimes, and I am very open to learning and growing. Although education through the school system was a great struggle for me, I hope to aid in the field of education through other avenues, whether it be a local library set of lessons, tutoring, workshops, or audiobooks to advise other teachers with special needs students and linguistic limitations. I am so glad that school required me to take a second language. I chose Spanish because it was the first time I gained confidence that I had awareness of my intelligence and skill in an academic subject apart from the arts. The truth is, as necessary as art is in the world, it is one of the most undervalued contributions to society, as well as teaching. To be both an artist and a teacher, no matter how talented or dedicated, can feel like a frustrating, thankless occupation. And fruitless. To those struggling linguistic folks who live in a monolingual, linguistically prejudiced American society, to those struggling artistic folks whose creative masterpieces are rarely understood by the non-creatives who cannot understand the messages and beauty the artist is trying to translate to the masses, to those who struggle with communication, whether it be nonverbal autistic people, people whose accents struggle with speech pathology classes and being understood through pronunciation that's not the best, to those who struggle with proper expression and mental organization due to mental health issues or delays, and to those who struggle with a lack of absence or literacy, and that their acquisition of their second language in a new country, in a new environment, in a new workplace, among people who not only misunderstand, but are vehemently against their presence in their country. To feel so isolated, even in your own native tongue, I have. To have the voice in your head sound so clear, but sound like incoherent babble to the world. Sometimes it causes people to remain silent, and sometimes there's a lot of noise, and it's very hard to separate out the noise and organize the thoughts. Usually an issue for people who have ADHD. There's just like five different bands playing five different melodies at once, and you somehow have to fish through all that noise to organize your thoughts. I don't want anyone to feel that way. I've never become silent, but I have screamed in desperation and gone blue in the face to explain and defend my being as if I owed the world an apology for my existence. I have felt alien in my own country, in my own language, with my neuro-divergent, artistic, autistic, linguistic mind, but I'm not alone. And I can help others with my interpretation and translation skills. It isn't words that bring us together as a human family. It's the unspoken, intangible empathy and human struggle that we can feel within our hearts. What human has not cried, smiled, become angry, jealous, exhausted, hungry, or desirous? Sometimes those emotions cannot be expressed in words. We feel the world, we see the world, we hear the world, but can we? Do we feel and see and hear each other? Do we touch? Do we look inside? Do we listen with intention? Most of the time, we do not, and we cannot, because our own world is oftentimes used as our foundation as the universal truth for humanity. Today, I challenge you to open yourself to the intangible, the invisible, the inaudible world. Humanity at its core is an essence that is indiscernible, but we often do not take the time to sit with ourselves and each other in community and accept the humanity within each of us. Love and connection is the purpose for life. Growing and learning and trying are what brings life meaning and worth. And each generation brings more hope and more progress, living out the impossible dreams of our ancestors and the hopes of those who dared to aspire for a better world yet to come without any promise that it ever could. We are so much more than what we have become, but what we have become can also change for the better outcome. And even if generations present cannot live to see the fruits of our labor, the roots have been planted by the present youth, and those will be the trees that grow the most precious fruits. We build the stairs to reach the top, and we lift one another up to lift one another up, and another gets to touch the sky and reach the stars that our ancestors dreamed of from the deep holes they were stuck in, looking up and hoping, wishing that their future descendants could have so much more. I thank them every day with gratitude. Because of them, I can live the dreams of them and have the opportunities they never had. And even if I struggle with struggles so misunderstood, I have so many chances to try and to fall and to try again until I reach my aspirations and my destinations. And it is the resilience that is the true achievement, the strive to continue and the drive to fight to move forward and to unselfishly pursue not just for the success for myself, but to create pathways for the generation who walks for future generations to run, and for those generations' descendants to have the ability to fly. That's the end of the article. I know it's long and a little sappy, but and seems a little bit all over the place. But hey, I'm autistic. um, but I wrote that to basically, well, make a silver lining out of a cloud. You know, it's like it's not easy being autistic. It's not pleasant not being understood or being able to, I guess, organize my thoughts, my spaghetti thoughts in a waffle format. I mean, can you imagine trying to take wet noodles of spaghetti and trying to take like each noodle, okay, and somehow like spiraling that into a waffle hole? That's how difficult it is for me to just sit down, quiet my mind, focus, have conversation and wait my turn to speak and also take in everything that someone's saying to me without zoning out, in 2 seconds like a goldfish. And to just be present in a moment, to listen with intention, not just hear want, not just see, but look, and to not just feel these overwhelmed feelings, but to purposely internally touch what needs touching. And just as a neurodivergent person in a world built for neurotypicals, and as someone who wasn't screened, someone who wasn't given proper accommodations in school, and subsequently feeling very inferior and struggling to meet a standard that I could only meet sometimes with great difficulty. I am more than happy that I have confirmation by the medical community that I do have this thing called autism, because it's more scary to think what I thought, that I was just stupid, stupid and slow and not fully developed, right? And it also hurt that because I excelled at certain things, that others would just dismiss the idea that I could have anything like autism because I'm out here achieving. I'm out here engaging with the world. But non neurodivergent people don't realize the amount of work put into meeting a person and doing the mirror masking thing. When I meet people, I watch them and I try to study their demeanor, the way they're interacting, match their energy, if you will. You know, like if someone's acting very jovial and happy and just party, I will try to copy that because I'm trying to human, you know, if that makes sense. I'm trying to fit in and I'm trying to communicate in the same like vibe that they're giving off, if that makes sense. And in the same way, if someone's more quiet and reserved, I again try to like match that energy. And it's exhausting because I end up making like different versions of myself almost for different people in different environments, which everyone does to a degree, but neurodivergent people tend to have to do or feel that they have to do this at almost an extreme level, that I do fear that at full 100% me, it's just too much. I will ramble. I will talk for hours. I won't read the social cues that someone is overwhelmed and they practically just have to run away or literally start walking away, and I'm still going. And the amount of thoughts I have at once overwhelm me. I can't always process with my speaking. Um, I have to slow down. I have to slow down. I have to tone it down. I have to figure out ways to make the essay that I want to express a couple of sentences. You know, what I would like to say is usually 1,000 words or more. And I want to learn how to take an essay worth of words and make it concise into a paragraph worth of words so that when I meet people, I can better communicate in a way that if I say too much too long, people are going to tune out. They're going to find that irritating. And even the hyper energy, just being very woo, and it's just like I have friends and people who love that about me. And someone could argue just stick with the people who can tolerate that, who like that, who enjoy that, right? Don't bother trying to water yourself down for other people. And that sounds all great and good, but you can't do that at work. I can't quote unquote be my full self to my boss or my coworkers. I can't quote unquote be at a job where I need to focus for an elongated period of time and allow myself to be bouncing over here, bouncing over there, like, just brain activity everywhere. And this is what I'm talking about, having to alter oneself to fit in a neurotypical world. Now, accommodations for autistic people are improving. The fact that society is even acknowledging mental health issues, conditions, disorders, dysfunctions, whatever other words, diseases, I guess, and other things that prevent normal functioning, which again is a debate right now. Is autism just diversity of different kinds of brains? We don't know. Is autism something that's preventable? Is autism something that can be corrected? And is autism something that should be prevented and should be corrected? I don't have the answer for that. But I know this, at my age, having to practice and go through the difficulty I went through to, I guess, adjust myself to a neurotypical world, I don't necessarily see what a quote unquote cure to autism would do me now, you know? I could understand that for the autistic kids, um, but it's kind of like I don't want anyone else to struggle in the way I did. Um, but I feel like a big part of that struggle was simply not knowing why, why I was struggling. Had I known, oh, I have autism. That's why I'm struggling. My brain isn't like everybody else's. That's why I'm struggling. It wouldn't have taken away the fact that I was going to continue to struggle, but I'd have the awareness that it's not some kind of quote unquote major dysfunction or delay or lack of effort in myself, that it's just how I was made and it's not something I can control or necessarily fix. And maybe it doesn't necessarily need to be fixed. It's just society isn't built in a way that neurodivergent people can thrive, which it doesn't mean that there's no one neurodivergent that can thrive. It just means that it's extra hard for someone who's neurodivergent to thrive and or survive in our society. And I'm glad I have, you know, the social benefits of being extroverted, because there are plenty of autistic people that just cannot socialize in the way that is expected, and business networking is pretty much necessary for elevating in career fields, depending on the career field. So, not to ramble, but those are just some of the things I wanted to mention about autism. I've been aware autistic people exist. I've met autistic people, and guess what? Big indication that I was autistic is the fact that autistic people would have to tell me they're autistic. I wouldn't think there was anything quote unquote wrong with them or off about them. I just thought, oh, you're autistic? I couldn't tell. Hmm. Maybe because I'm autistic. You know, so now I've found a new community that I'm part of, that I can learn from, that I can help, you know, with education, for other people who are non-autistic, to help and understand the autistic community better. So this is in a way a good thing, but I'm not going to pretend like it's, I don't regard this as a superpower. It does make life more difficult, but at least in my understanding and my sympathy, I can help build that bridge. And I'm happy for that. And again, it has confirmed what I thought for a long time, that there's something not the same as how my brain operates. And that's okay. It's hard, but it's okay. Well, I hope you have a great night. I have not made a video for this channel in the longest, and I hope that you all follow Rambler Lang Eduk, which is short for Rambler Language Education. And this channel is dedicated to language education. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your night, and I hope that this is the beginning of many future videos, because I've been a bit neglectful of this channel. So see you, and till next time, keep studying.